Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes to allow people to join before we get started. Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, How do Training Providers Continue to Improve Their Qualification Achievement Rate, with our guest speaker, Kerry Boffey. My name's Nadine and I'll be keeping things running in the background. While we wait for everyone to log in, I'll just quickly summarise the usual webinar rules. Next slide, please, Georgina. This session will be recorded and we will be sending a copy to all attendees afterwards. You are all muted for the duration of the session, so if you do need assistance during this webinar, please use the questions function in the top right-hand panel. With so many of you registered for today's session, we're unlikely to be able to respond to all questions during this webinar, but we will, however, aim to address common themes, so please do submit questions as we go through using the questions function. Next slide, please, Georgina. I'll now introduce our guest speaker, Kerry Boffey, who many of you will already know as a leading voice in the sector. Kerry is the CEO and founder of the Fellowship of Inspection Nominees. As a former Ofsted inspector with 17 years experience, Kerry has managed teams and providers through very challenging inspections due to their complexity. This in-depth understanding of inspection, alongside concerns for the lack of effective preparation by providers, was the driver behind the Fellowship of Inspection Nominees being set up. Membership of FIN includes all types of providers, and Kerry and her team support and strengthen the nominee role in preparation for Ofsted inspections. Kerry sits on the Aptem Compliance Advisory Board, working alongside other industry experts and the Aptem product team to ensure the platform consistently meets evolving compliance standards. Today, Kerry will be giving an overview of QAR. We are also joined by Aptem Head of Implementation, Georgina Burton, and Implementation Consultant, Angela Metcalfe, who will be running through how Aptem tools can support QAR uplift. They will also be both on hand to pick up any questions related to the Aptem platform. I'll now hand over to Kerry to begin the webinar.
Hello, everybody. Lovely to see so many of you here today. I'm going to turn off my camera in a minute so you don't get distracted and look at the flowers behind me and focus on the slides. But welcome to everybody today. So when we think about QAR and we think about data, we think prepare yourself, what I want to cover today is that discussion about oversight of your data. I want to talk about some of those challenges with the QAR. I want to talk about learning from the sector from the point of view of what are those warning signs about the writing on the wall. We might talk a little bit about positive no's, and it's about motivating delivery teams to contribute to that data so that they understand it and you know what's coming. So this time of year, everyone's really focused. They're really looking at what's our QAR going to look like? Who can we get over the line? And I like to think of it, it's almost like a dance with data. And throughout the year, you have literally backwards and forwards, round and about, there's been highs and lows. It really has been a dance with your data. And first of all, I want to say, anybody who is now looking at their data and thinks, actually, we have really improved retention by X number of percentage, we've really improved achievement this year, well done. That's absolutely fantastic, because I know firsthand just how hard it is. It's not straightforward. There's so many complexities along that journey. So well done if you're focused on that and you can see that you are moving in the right direction. But also we need to look at it from the other side, that actually when we look at achievement rates, why should we be having high achievement rates? Why have we started with this whole program, taken people on, and then they're not necessarily achieving at the end, or they're leaving partway through? So it really is on our watch. It is our responsibility to absolutely maximize that achievement rate and that QAR. What's really interesting is that at Fin, as has been mentioned, my background in quality and with inspections, that's why I started Fin, and it was to get people, members, which we represent over 200 members across the sector, and hopefully a few more. Sorry, I've just seen a notice about sound, but I think hopefully everyone can hear me. It's about, if we focus on quality, if we get quality right, then actually inspection will look after itself. And to a degree, it's exactly the same about QAR. If we keep our learners on track, we know what they're doing, we know the progress that we're making, we are far, far likely to get them over the line, stay on program and achieve and have really good QAR. So rather than focus on what is our QAR, focus on the learner in front of you, focus on what you have and how to get them to stay on program and to achieve. And therefore, the QAR will be there when you need it at the end of the day. So I'll come back to some of those, but just keep that in mind, that dance with data. Are you dancing with data early enough in the learners program, or are you only having a bit of a boogie or a tango towards the end? In fact, I would suggest this time of year it's real tango time, as opposed to earlier on in the program, when you can just have a gentle bit of a boogie and just make sure that data is you're keeping an eye on it. Right, can I have the next slide, please? So this session was actually prompted by an article I wrote in FE Week, which was about how some providers, some members, were being contacted by the DfE and actually were being told that they could no longer run programs that were under 50%. Now, that shouldn't be a surprise. It's in the funding rules that it talks about at risk. And we are very aware that there are more conversations going on than perhaps there were about some of those programs. But I suppose what really we need to do as providers ourselves is to have a look at, not wait for that conversation with DfE, but actually look at it ourselves to say, if we've got a QAR, something leading towards a QAR that's going to be under 50%, is it actually viable to run? Why are we losing them? What is wrong with this program that it is not either keeping its learners or achieving the learners? And actually, there's an interesting one here that if we focus on retention, and Georgina and I had a conversation earlier today that I'm sure she's going to bring up later in the session, but if you keep learners on program, they've got a higher chance of achieving. If you lose them partway through, they've got no chance of achieving. So it's really about retention that leads to achievement. And if we focus on retaining our learners, then we've got a far better chance of being way above that 50% QAR. And it's really about identifying where on that program people might be about to leave. And when you have that conversation with DfE, it's about unpacking why your QAR is at where it is. Wherever it is, they will see it as inspectors see it. So if you told me as an inspector, you've got 40% achievement rates, that to me just translates as, well, you've lost 60%. Where's that 60%? So it's really about understanding where you are with that provision, knowing what's behind that QAR. And I don't mean making excuses. I mean unpacking at what point you lost that learner. At what point did they not achieve? What actions did you take? How are you forming your own risk register that identifies this is a learner that has got issues along the way, this is what we're going to do about it, these are the interventions. I sometimes wonder, I'm going to come on to this in a bit more, but I sometimes wonder about the robustness of the one-to-ones with your tutors, with your review teams, who really have that face-to-face contact or online contact with the learners, who know about the progress that they're making, where there's signs earlier on. And I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail. But we know quite a number of providers are having conversations with the DfE. We know that that 50% is becoming a trigger, and what we're looking at is what other triggers are there? You know, are they going to look at 60% trigger, 62% trigger? You know, where is that going to go? It's unlikely that they're going to lower that trigger, because if you think about it, if you bought a bag of 12 apples, knowing full well that only 6 were going to be edible by the end when you brought the shopping home, how happy would you be going back and buying another 12 apples? I know I've simplified it, but the reality is, if you've only got 50% or lower than 50%, is that really a viable program? Should you be running it? How are you working around that? So it's about really thinking really harshly on your own provision about only 50% are achieving, or less than 50% are achieving. What are we doing about it? So can you move on to the next slide, please? So the better providers that we work with, and we work with quite a number of outstanding providers at Fin, and also through a governance that we do, I would suggest that the better providers have what I call a forensic approach to data. There is absolutely no stone left unturned. Nobody comes to that leadership team meeting and says, we've got too many to worry about, we've got too many to understand. You should never have more than you can actually manage, and you shouldn't take on extra knowing that you'll get a few drop off. So actually over recruit. You've got to actually recruit individuals, recruit with integrity that says, we're now going to give this person the best possible chance of staying on program and of achieving. When you think about, when you have that governance, that board meeting, it's what data do you actually provide them with? If it's summary data that you are saying, we're doing really well, this is what we're doing, then actually you're not going to get the help that you need from that governance, from that oversight. You need to give them the raw data so that they can say, who's that person? What's that person? What's their story? Why is that happening? You really need to be open and honest with those leadership teams to help you scrutinize that data. And from my own experience of working with providers, because I work with quite a number, I kind of almost know some of the excuses. I kind of almost know what I'm looking for. Oh, so in that particular program, that time of year, it's always really difficult. It's very outdoory, so that's going to cause you problems. So it's about understanding the sector and utilizing that external supervisory understanding that you have to actually help you improve your QAR. Don't just summarize what you think you're doing or how well you're doing and let them just say, oh yeah, that's great. Give them the opportunity to really interrogate your data, because nobody has a magic wand. This is hard work. It's good work, but it's really hard work to achieve. So it's about enabling them to scrutinize your data. It's about setting targets for that data. So it's about really early on in the program, setting those clear targets of what are people going to achieve by when, and how do we know? And how is that success reported? How do they support you to know, to be able to say, this is what we've done, this is how we're moving on? So again, it's about using that data to drive performance. Now, I know Georgina's going to give you an awful lot of practical information. I mean, I'm talking about the wouldn't it be nice to have, and this is what you should do strategically. Georgina's going to give you and this is how you do it. So she's actually going to roll up her sleeves later on and show you some of the Aptem systems that will actually enable you to do exactly what I'm talking about, which is have that real forensic approach to data. Next slide, please, Georgina. So we look at a lot of inspection reports. We're behind the scenes on a lot of inspections. We see a lot of preparation for inspection. We see a quality journey where people have got 3-4 years in advance of inspection. We can see some of the patterns. But one of the I picked up this from one of the reports. And it talked in an inspection report about too many apprentices take breaks in their learning, withdraw from their programme, or face other barriers into achieving time. Now, there's an awful lot of opportunities on an apprentice between when they start and when they finish. And those stepping stones along the way are absolutely critical at being utilised to their maximum to keep people on programme and make sure they are achieving. All too often, those stepping stones are glazed over. They're just a process. They're just something people go through. They're something they don't necessarily have the impact. Every one of those stepping stones, and you have them every 12 weeks, so a minimum of every 12 weeks, you have that progress review. They can be totally underutilized. First of all, they need to celebrate progress. They need to celebrate the success. They need to link in what is happening during that opportunity, during that time at work. They need to really specifically target set to keep that learner on program. But often, one of the biggest things that is missed from those reviews is they need to reinforce the importance of doing the apprenticeship. If you don't remind people why they're doing it and the importance of it and the value it will add in their long-term life, in their long-term careers, it's hardly surprising that with all the things going on in their lives, they get distracted. The barriers appear too big. They just, they get distracted. There's too many things going on. This is something that, it's not that important. We have to remind them of the importance and the value of achieving that apprenticeship. That will help. If that's one of the key things that comes out of your reviews, that will really have a significant impact on your QAR. It will have an impact firstly on your retention rates, because surprisingly enough, we know how important they are as delivery staff. We know as operational staff, we know how important they are. But actually, it's about reminding the learners how important that apprenticeship is and about how staying on program, how critical that is. So that's one of the things that's really, really important, is that stepping stones along the way. And I want you to really have a look at, and Georgina will talk about this later, is what those stepping stones are and the impacts they are having to make sure that those learners stay on program and stay on focus. And as a leadership team, you know what's happening. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to let you to read this. This is another quote from an inspection. When we have a look in more depth at individuals, so as part of governance, when we take as almost like a case study and look at individual learners, it makes you suddenly think, do you know what? The writing was on the wall for this one. And actually, when you unpack the journey, you can see patterns, missed reviews, not handing in assignments on time, not attending some of the additional training they could be doing. The excuses start to come out. You can see a learner wavering. The writing is definitely on the wall. What we need to do is, if we genuinely are going to change our QAR, if we are going to absolutely reverse that trend of early leavers and non-achievers, or breaks in learning that perhaps are just a kind of a delay tactic rather than a genuine break in learning for genuine reasons, with a targeted, this is when I'm coming back, this is why I'm going to come back then actually we are, sorry, I've got distracted, I beg your pardon, that's the window cleaner outside. We absolutely, the writing is on the wall. So it's about really unpacking that journey and making sure that absolutely every intervention along the way is impactful and does what it needs to do to improve your retention. If you really, really have a whole project on looking at those interventions and looking at how effective they are, you can really analyze your data and see the impact in retention, which will then lead to QAR. Next slide, please. So how many is too many, and it being a numbers game? This is really a question for you in relation to the new proposed framework. So we know the framework isn't out yet. We're waiting. We've got a draft toolkit. The toolkit keeps referring to too many learners in where it says, for areas for concern. It identifies too many. And the question is, how many is too many? How many in your provision are you willing to lose? How many per tutor, or however you define your staff with cohorts, how many are you willing to lose? How many are you willing to not achieve? And it's about taking on that accountability. In the new framework, that's going to become even more important because they've increased interest in inclusion, because they're looking at diversity, because they're looking at you really opening your doors to more people and making sure more people come on board. They're also then looking at how you are overcoming those barriers, what you are doing to ensure those learners maximize their opportunities. So the question I would like you to ask internally is, how many is too many for us? Because that will help you drive forward your internal targets. Okay, next slide, please. So data is fantastic. I think as mentioned in the introduction, I was an inspector for 18 years. I love data. I absolutely love it because it really tells a story. And you can tell so much by finding out about data. When you look into that data, when you scrutinize it, patterns come out, patterns that relate to individual members of staff, patterns that come out to particular standards, pattern that can come out for different employers, different age groups as patterns. There are so many patterns that really emerge from data when you take a keen interest in looking at it. If you have a perfunctory look at it and you just say, yeah, this is the data, whereas if you really get gritty with it and start looking at it and rooting through it, it will tell you so much. So really look at that data and don't sleepwalk into it. If the learners are making slow progress, then this will lead to poor retention. There are signs that it's coming. So really look at that. And as I say, Georgina will show you some data, some early ways of looking at that targets and that risk register almost that comes out of it. So can I have the next slide, please? Because this is merely a vision and this is data. So this is how so many providers look at their data. It's big, it's messy, it's all over the place. And it doesn't necessarily provide clarity to that chain, that whole linking up and that QAR. That's what I would like you to do with your data, is really embrace that data, untangle it all, and really look at where it leads. And that will really help you drive QAR. It'll drive provision when you start unraveling your data. Next slide, please. Right, so it's very easy because to just, you as an individual, you're on this course today, you're sitting there, you're probably nodding and thinking, yep, I do that, I could be doing that, yep, that's great. But actually, it's about getting everybody involved in that data conversation. It's about using those one-to-ones, those monthly meetings, whether it's with people who manage you or you manage them. It's about making them much more effective and bringing the data into those one-to-ones so that people understand the accountability of it. And if you've got somebody who's kind of flagging up, or the writing's on the wall potentially, as this person could be leaving, or this person is going on a break in learning, but you know what, I'm not ever sure they're planning on coming back, or they really don't know, or they really are over their time and they're never going to achieve. Why prolong the agony? Why not actually make it accountable? If that member of staff said, yep, we will have a review, they will be seen, they will do such and such, they will do this by the next month, bring it back to say, have they? And if they haven't, do something about it. Build in much more accountability for every single member of staff so that every learner really, really counts. And get everybody, I can't emphasize that too much, just get everybody involved in that data conversation to build that story together. Right, next slide, please. I think actually that's the last slide. So I'm going to hand you over to Georgina, and I'm only 4 minutes over, but just to say, it really, really is important. And I look forward to listening to Georgina, giving you some of the hows now that I've presented some of the issues for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kerry, for setting the scene so powerfully and highlighting just how important it is to understand and manage your QAR. So in this section, I'll focus on the practical side, looking at how Aptem can help you prepare, stay on top of your data, and ultimately maximise your QAR outcomes by using some of the key features available in the system. I'll give a high-level overview of 4 key features that can support your managers and tutors to drive achievements and reduce risk. So we're going to look at the performance dashboard, the quality Power BI dashboard, and then we're going to have a look at Checkpoint and Virtual Assistant, and also how you can make the most of Aptem reviews. And these tools are all designed to give you early insight, help you take targeted actions, and ultimately improve learner outcomes. So we'll start with the performance dashboard, which is a powerful tool designed to help you manage your caseload efficiently while supporting QAR performance. Whether you're a tutor, coach, or administrator, the dashboard gives you a clear view of your entire learner caseload, surfacing insights to help you focus your time where it matters most. It highlights learners who may need extra support, those at risk of falling behind, or those approaching key milestones, making it easier to take timely and targeted action. And by using this dashboard regularly, staff can stay proactive, reduce the risk of non-achievement or withdrawal, and ultimately help drive better outcomes for learners and their organisation. So the performance dashboard offers a clear, detailed view of your learner data, helping you pinpoint where support is needed most. Key learner management features include the Progress Overview card, which tracks learner progress against their learning plan activities and provides a visual summary of who's on track, who's ahead, and who's behind. The Quality Assurance card, available for people with QA permissions, offers visibility into your quality assurance process, showing the status of activities under review and highlighting any outstanding QA feedback. And the Requires Attention section is basically your tutor's to-do list, showing overview activities, items awaiting marking, feedback received, and tasks ready for QA. You've also got advanced filtering options, allowing you to drill down by program, sub-program, individual learners, groups, employers, primary tutor, and program status. This level of filtering makes it easy to monitor specific cohorts or focus on areas of concern, especially useful when identifying at-risk learners early. Another key feature is a caseload lifecycle card, which helps you track learners nearing the end of their programme. It provides a quick view of learners within 30 days of their original planned end date and learners who've already passed their end date. And this will help staff prioritise follow-up and ensure appropriate actions are taken to maximise achievement. Here's a quick walkthrough of how to use a caseload lifecycle card within the performance dashboard. So your tutors would need to access the dashboard, and it's available to all users with an assessor or trainee assessor role. So this isn't just reserved for managers, this is something tutors can be doing on a daily basis. If they click on the section labelled Learners Within 30 Days, they can access more details. Similarly, learners past the planned end date. That would allow tutors to review those who most need follow-up or further action. It's especially helpful for end-of-programme management, enabling timely intervention to support learners through completion and also boost your QAR results. Clicking on either of these sections in the caseload lifecycle card takes you to a drill down view. This I have actually redacted some of the columns, so it's you would see learner and program details normally, but it gives you detailed information about each learner along with any associated actions that might be required. And you get a slightly different view for within 30 days, past end date and EPA period based on the information you need. You can also further refine this view using the built-in filters. So the program and My Learner quick filters are particularly useful to focus on specific learning programs or your own caseload. That would allow tutors to work more efficiently and prioritise those learners who need the most immediate support. Another powerful tool in the performance dashboard is the caseload summary card, which helps you identify learners currently on a break in learning. A key group to monitor when considering QAR impact. And again, to access this data, click on the On a Break section of the caseload summary card. Learners on a break are included in your overall metrics by default in Aptem, ensuring they aren't overlooked or forgotten. This is a proactive way to keep visibility of learners who may be temporarily inactive but could still count towards your performance. When you drill down into the On a Break section, you'll find detailed information that helps you manage your QAR risk effectively. Key data points are shown as per this table, and you can click on any column to reorder the data. So on this example, I've ordered the data in the order of the date that the learners went on a break. We know from a QAR perspective, learners on a break who are not overdue are excluded from the summary calculations. However, learners with overdue breaks are still counted, which can negatively impact your QAR. So it makes it essential to monitor return dates and review schedules closely to make sure that learners do not go on overdue breaks. You can also apply filters to focus on only break in learning statuses or remove them from the views as needed, giving you full control to tailor your focus and manage your risk effectively. Next, I want to look at the Quality Power BI dashboard, which is built directly into Aptem. This tool gives you a powerful way to track learner outcomes and give insights that can support QAR improvement, as well as wider quality assurance activities such as Ofsted preparation and your self-assessment reporting. Aptem currently includes 5 built-in Power BI dashboards with access controlled by role-based permissions. The dashboards present learner-related insights from different perspectives. Today, we're going to focus on the quality dashboard, also referred to as the Ofsted dashboard. It provides a clear view of learners' outcomes and supports QAR monitoring, Ofsted preparation, self-assessment reporting, and monitoring your performance against the accountability framework. Dashboards are accessed via console, so anyone who needs access must have console permissions. Each dashboard also has specific Power BI roles that must be assigned. Once assigned, the Dashboards tab will appear under the Power BI icon in the left-hand menu, so you can control which dashboards members of your team sees. You should also note what users see within the dashboard is determined by their group and learner permissions. This means users will only see the data for learners they are permitted to view. It's the most common reason why different people may see different totals in the same dashboard, even if the data is refreshed. But these group restrictions aren't a limitation. They're really useful. For example, if you structure groups by curriculum area or region, managers can be assigned to access only their specific group, giving them relevant insights without exposing wider data. Tutors can also safely be given access to dashboards, and they will only see data relating to the learners that they can see in Aptem. We know that many of you may want to follow along in your own dashboards as we go through this presentation, but because of the large number of attendees, we kindly ask that you avoid refreshing your Power BI during this live session. Refreshing Power BI dashboards does place a load on Aptem's infrastructure, and while this isn't usually a problem, simultaneous refreshes across many tenants can cause a temporary slowdown. We will provide a full recording after today's session so you can revisit any steps at your own pace. Just thinking of the data, Power BI do not use live data. They're a snapshot from your data from the last update. To see the latest data, you need to check the latest update date at the top of the dashboard and click refresh if needed. Depending on your dataset size, the refresh might take a few minutes, but you can continue working in the dashboard while it processes. Once updated, the refresh button will be temporarily disabled for 1 hour. If you notice a mismatch in figures between different users, always check whether the data has been refreshed recently and whether there are groups or learner restrictions in place that might affect what people are actually able to see. Now, let's have a look at the quality dashboard and see how this can support you to monitor and improve your QAR. Managing QAR isn't just about knowing your numbers, it's about using the right data to take the right action at the right time, which Kerry's stressed so well during the first half of this presentation. The dashboards help you doing this by providing in-year QAR data drawn directly from your ILR. It gives you multiple views of learner performance grouped in a way that helps target interventions, and it also contains filters and export functions to support evidence-based quality improvement. Today we're going to focus on the 4 QAR tabs, and that includes these 4 dedicated tabs, including the headline tab, which will give in-year and historic achievement, retention and pass rates. The QAR Gender and Disability tab gives a breakdown by gender, age and disability. The Ethnicity tab is a performance by ethnic groups, and the Functional Skills tab was a key area that could often be a cause of hidden non-achievement, maybe less important now for the rule changes, but still important to see how your progress against functional skills is happening. Together, these 4 tabs give you a comprehensive view of your landscape, showing what's working and where timely support is needed. On the QAR headline tab, there are 3 projection models to help you understand potential year-end outcomes. The minimum figure gives a worst-case scenario where no further in-learning learners achieve in the current year. The maximum figure gives a best-case scenario where all in-learn learners go on to achieve within the funding year. And the expected target is a more realistic model based on this year's actual achievement rate to date. These scenarios can help you make data-informed decisions about where to prioritise support. They may also help in discussions with leadership teams or governors about likely outcomes and the impact of intervention on QAR performance. To take meaningful action on QAR, you need to know who's still in learning that could impact your final figures so that you work towards those expected and maximum figures rather than finishing the year on minimum. Using the QAR headline tab, you can apply filters to narrow down the learning aims data table to focus on this group. So to do this, on the QAR tab, you can use a filter to focus on learners who are still in learning and then review their data to understand who may need support to complete on time. By filtering, exporting and intervening, you can take practical steps to improve outcomes and not just monitor them. And the Learning Aims table is now displayed directly within the QAR headline view. So this insight is only a few clicks away. And by clicking on the more options, you can download the filtered underlying data to show those learners that are still in learning. I just now want to focus on a few functions that can actually help maintain progress and focus during the delivery part of your programme. And I want to start with the value of Checkpoint and our virtual assistant, which are both part of our enterprise package. If you're an Aptem customer and don't currently have access to the enterprise package, please reach out to your customer success manager and they'll be able to provide you more information. So Checkpoint is a multi-choice assessment generator powered by AI large language models, and it creates contextually relevant questions based on the KSBs from the specific apprenticeship standards. It's a flexible learning and diagnostic tool that can be used throughout the learner journey to check understanding against KSBs that have been completed, making sure learners are making real progress. It includes a growing library of mapped questions and answered, aligned with the apprenticeship standards, making it a program tool for program-wide use. The virtual assistant is a 24/7 learner support tool, giving apprentices access to contextualized guidance on apprenticeship standards, help with difficult concepts and situational queries, and instant explanation of knowledge, skills, and behaviours. And it can be accessed when tutors maybe are unavailable because they're helping other learners or doing other delivery things. It helps learners take ownership of their progress, and because it supports them in real time, it can also prevent avoidable delays, keeping them on track. When used together, Checkpoint and the virtual assistant deliver meaningful benefits. Tutors and line managers can identify early signs of learner struggles if they're struggling with their Checkpoint questions. Regular use will help flag where timely support and review is needed. And early intervention will reduce the risk of withdrawals, funding delays, and learners pass their planned end date. Learners can also access the virtual assistant directly from their Checkpoint screens after completing a checkpoint and also when reviewing previous checkpoints. They just need to click Help with a question next to any answer, and they'll provide tailored feedback and further explanation to explore their understanding, which gives learners an immediate way to clarify confusion, but also provide tutors valuable insight into areas where learners are struggling. Looking at checkpoint engagement or lack of engagement can also act as early warning signs. For example, a learner consistently scoring poorly in checkpoints or not attempting them at all could signal a need for early intervention. And if we can address these signs early and help keep learners on track, that will reduce the risk of them going off plan and improve the likelihood of timely, successful completions. The Checkpoint reporting suite provides insight at programme level, learner level, and learning plan components. From the Programmes tab, you can see Checkpoint summaries related to a specific programme to give a high-level overview of learner performance against a cohort. In the Learner Summary view, you can see which questions were answered correctly, where learners struggled, and what feedback was given on incorrect answers, which makes it easier to provide targeted support and inform upcoming reviews. And at learning plan component level, allows you to track checkpoint progress against the components of each learner's learning plan, ensuring that it aligns with their learning journey. You can also export the checkpoint history in CSV format for more detailed reporting and internal quality reviews. And then in the final section, I want to spend a few minutes considering how to maximise the value of Aptem reviews. The review process is one of the most powerful tools we have to monitor progress, drive engagement, and provide a meaningful intervention. So it's worth asking, are your reviews supporting this, or have they become more of a routine check-in? Once you've scrutinised your data and set clear targets for your team, it is essential that these expectations are communicated through your reviews with both learners and employers. We'd like to encourage you to reflect on your review structure and the way you use your review outcomes. Are they telling the full story of your learner's journey? And here are a few practical things to consider. Customers who use static data points find it far easier to report. So if your reviews contain a lot of text boxes, analysis is very difficult. If you use Boolean or drop-downs to track clear measurable outcomes, it's much easier to make sure that the reviews are being meaningful. You should think about asking meaningful, qualitative questions. Think about whether the questions asked in the review reflect the genuine learner challenges, milestones, or points of progression. And don't wait till a learner's on a break or at risk of withdrawals. Can your reviews highlight where progress is dipping early enough to take action? Are there clear motivational pathways in place and evidence of what was done and its impact? And remember to make use of OData reporting. The outcomes of reviews can be tracked and drilled down into via Power BI and OData. So as long as you have the review responses module enabled, you can report on this through your OData feed. If you haven't yet enabled the review responses module, please speak to your IT, CSM or the support team and they will help you get that switched on. Aptem also now offers real helpful time-saving features within the reviews called review summarization. This is an AI-powered tool that creates high-quality summaries following meeting transcripts, accessible with just a click of the button. Tutors can retrieve a transcript using the communications connector within Microsoft Teams or upload a transcript file manually. Once the transcript's available, by simply clicking Summarize, they get a review summary instantly. This is a huge time saving for tutors, reducing admin and enabling more focus on what really matters, the learner, their progress and their challenges. And when this is used alongside structured data point, it gives you a full story of the learner journey, drawing input from all stakeholders. The contents of a review summary will vary based on the conversation, but typically includes who attended, key themes and discussion points, and action points for each party. Tutors can edit or delete any part of the summary as needed. Just make sure to save the section, but it does have an autosave function as well. The feature is highly flexible. You can summarize up to 10 files at once if you need to. The process happens as you work in the system, so you can keep working in Aptem while it completes. And you'll also receive a notification when it's done or if the summary couldn't be generated. Another very useful feature is that you can see summaries from previous reviews and edit or regenerated summaries if new files are added. This supports a complete narrative of progress and makes it easy to gather data from multiple review cycles. If you'd like learners and employers to see the summary, make sure the meeting details section is visible to them in your reviews token. And just note, learners and employers will only see a read-only version, even if that section is marked editable. However, they can add meeting notes, attach files, or retrieve a transcript in the section if the section is editable to them. Once a review is finalised, they will also see the summary in the review PDF. As mentioned, you can see summaries from previous reviews in the previous meeting summary section. It defaults to the last review of the type you're using, but you can also select any review from a drop-down where the review summarization function has been used. Just a final reminder, this review summarization is currently only available to enterprise customers, but customers who've been involved in the beta trial of this are already saying how much time it's saving tutors and how much meaningful it's making their reviews. If it's something you'd like to explore, please again speak to your IC or CSM, and there's also further information and webinars on this in our Help Centre, which is available via the QR code on screen. So I just want to finish by discussing some key takeaways on how to drive achievement using Aptem. And the first thing I'd say is focus on QAR from day one. You need to start with the end in mind. Use Aptem to monitor risk indicators and take action early to protect your qualification achievement rates. In a way, if you're starting to look at them in July for this year, it's probably already too late. You can use the Power BI quality dashboard to gain insights at a glance. You can track learners who are at risk and plan at risk, below plan, or not engaging, which will support timely intervention and informed decision making. And that Power BI quality dashboard doesn't have to be restricted to managers. You can give tutors access to that and they will only see the data relating to their learners. You could consider leveraging checkpoints for learning impact, using those AI-generated questions aligned to the KSBs to check understanding, reinforce learning and highlight where support is needed. And again, support autonomy from your learners with a virtual assistant, giving them 24/7 access to proper help, encouraging independent problem solving and reducing delays in progression. Using the data from your checkpoints should help guide interventions in your reviews, spotting performance issues early and following up with timely reviews and support to reduce the risk of either withdrawals or overrun. And then also by maximising the power of structured reviews, excuse me, you can move beyond check-ins and design your reviews to tell that full learner story with measurable, meaningful data that supports learner progress. And then as a final thing, you can streamline your reviews with AI summarization to save tutor time with one-click transcript summaries, which will allow you to share clear progress updates with learners and employers for full visibility. And so the final thing is to basically integrate your data, analyze and act on it, whether through dashboards, OData or structured reviews. Aptem will enable you to make data-informed delivery decisions that improve outcomes and evidence impact. So that's the final bit of my how. It's time to move on to questions. So I will hand over to Angela to see if we've got anything in the chat that we might be able to help people with.
Yes, we do have a question for Kerry that's coming through. What do you think serves the biggest impact on improving QAR?
It's just that data analysis that's going to have the biggest impact on it, and accountability. So I would suggest that it's about, first of all, grasping that data, and you've been told lots of different ways that that systems can support you in that. And then actually building in accountability so that every learner really counts. Because all too often it's almost like, oh, well, I've just lost one, and just one has to really count and has to really matter, regardless whether you've got 20 learners or whether you've got 2,000 learners. It's about everybody counting. So there isn't a magic wand, there isn't a simple answer. It's about that step-by-step approach and making sure they know they're on track and they know the value of what they're going to get at the end of it, of the apprenticeship, because retention is key. Keep them on programme and the chances are they will achieve. If you lose them, you've got no chance of them achieving.
Thanks, Kerry. That's really great. And another question for both of you. How soon should we be preparing for QAR 25-26?
You can never start preparing too soon. Like Kerry said, it's about from day one, making sure that you're tracking your learners, you're knowing how their progress is, you're tracking the reason for any early withdrawals. I think we were discussing early, Kerry, if they don't stay, they can't achieve. So, retention is absolutely key. And if you have got poor retention, what's leading to that? Is it that your recruitment process might even need revising? So you're getting the right learner on the right course with the right employer. And it's not always about learners. It can also be about, monitoring your employers and making sure they're giving the learners the support they need to achieve. But it is about all the time making those, keeping an eye on your data, making those data-led decisions so that you're always maximising. I always say, July 25, you're not going to have an impact on your 24-25 QAR, but maybe you can learn lessons from your 24-25 results to make your 25-26 better. But it can never start too early.
And I would suggest also that you build it into your governance. So wherever you have your governance meetings, and you should have a minimum of 6 a year, we would always recommend a minimum of that. You bring it up to sit with your QAR to say, this is where our QAR is for each of our standards. This is why it is. This is what the projection for QAR. This is our retention projection. This is about the progress they're making. This is who we're losing. So that you really look at it throughout the year, not at one particular time. It's about throughout the year, so that by the time you get your QAR published, there's no surprises in it.
And remember, on your QAR dashboard in Power BI and Aptem, you can have a look at your overall figures for your organisation, but you can also drill down by standard. So you can actually drill that data down by using your filters to look at specific standards, specific cohorts. So you're really understanding where your strong cohorts are and where your areas for improvement need to be, so you can focus your time on where it's going to have that most impact.
Great stuff. We have had a couple of questions as well, Georgina. Anybody who wants to further develop the QAR management processes using the tools that we've mentioned today, what's the best way of going about that? And can Aptem support with that?
Yeah, I would say in the first instance, do have a look at the material that's available on our help centre. We've got webinars and help centre articles about all the tools I showed you today. Reach out to your CSM if that's not giving you the information you need, and they can have a discussion with you about more targeted support. And certainly, if you're interested in any of the enhanced, the enterprise functionality, do reach out to your CSM, and they can have a chat with you about how you can maybe get involved with seeing whether that could help you. But in the first instance, I would say there is some really valuable information on the help centre that you can self-serve, but your CSM is probably your best primary contact, or your IC if you're still in implementation, and we will work in partnership with you to make sure you're getting the best out of Aptem.
Great. And just following on from that, we have had a couple of questions about some people who are not currently using Aptem but may wish to discuss adopting it moving forward. Again, what's the best way to go about that?
If you reach out to our business development team, I'm sure Nadine will share our email at the end of this on the last slide. Reach out to the team; they would love to give you a demonstration of how Aptem can maybe be brought into your business to really help you understand your data and make those data-driven discussions. We'd love to speak to you and show you how Aptem can be part of your solution.
Can I also say, Nadine, that if anybody who isn't a member of Fin and they think, okay, I'd like to find out a bit more about Fin, we will be offering you a £50 discount code off your signing up fee. So anybody will follow up with everybody today, but we will offer a £50 off the sign up fee if you join as a result of coming to the webinar today. So I do hope that some of you who are not members think, actually, yep, there's something in there for me. There's a lot more to Fin membership than just from what we've heard today.
Thank you both for that. The rest of the questions are either specific around QARs or thanking everybody for providing, the presentations today. So I think we've covered everything there now.
Right, if I move on then, I think Nadine is going to wrap up for us.
Yeah, thank you, Georgina, Angela and Kerry, for running today's session. We assure everyone in attendance today has found this webinar incredibly useful. This is our final thought leadership webinar of the academic year, and we invite you to visit our website if you wish to catch up on any of our industry webinars on demand from the previous year. The link will be in the chat now. Thank you once again to our session hosts for your help with questions, and to all attendees for joining today. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we will see you again in the next academic year. Thank you. Goodbye.